All
All
right,
right.
let's go ahead
Yeah.
and get started. For those that don't know,
Ready.
Bob Myers, a former general manager and vice president or president of basketball ops. He was one of the architects, one of the ones that helped bring 4 championships to the Golden State Warriors. Now you can catch him on ESPN in studio. You can catch him at games. I think he's a de facto Warriors color commentator for ESPN. Man, always shows up at games there, and why not? The travel's pretty good, just up the coast. He's doing something with the Commanders. He showed up for UCLA, and UCLA beats Penn State, so he's probably going to take credit
Oh,
for that too.
yeah.
That's
Forgot about
incredible.
that.
How you been? You
I'm
forgot
good.
about that. My
No,
ass, you forgot about that.
I know. Yeah,
What,
I
you
shouldn't
forgot that
forget about it.
UCLA beat Penn State, or you forgot you're doing something for
I
UCLA?
forgot that I could take credit for something like that. I knew it happened, but you remind. Why don't I just grab some credit? Is what you said. Forgot I could say I had something to do with that, which I had
You
nothing to do
did.
with that. No, sure. You said it. Yeah, why not? Everybody, that's
Why
what
not?
everybody does these days. Just take credit for something you didn't do. Why not?
Absolutely.
Who cares? Yeah.
That is today's. Everybody wants,
Yeah.
and you know what? No one, and this was one, I think, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to dovetail my way into a little Warrior talk. I think this was one of the underlying strengths of the organization back in 14, 15, when you guys started. You were there. Steve came aboard in 15, and a bunch of other people in the organization, that no one cared who got the credit. And I think when you have an organization that has that, at least outwardly, and from what I know you, I know Steve obviously very well. Everybody's like, when we win, everybody gets the credit. That's fine. We don't need the credit. And now more and more people want the credit. They need the credit. And if they don't get it, they want to make sure they tell you that they did something so they can receive the credit. But would you agree with that? That was an underlying kind of strength of the team, is that, and then you have a superstar in Steph Curry, who is so strong in his security, and then you go out and get a guy like Kevin Durant, and he's like, whatever, I don't really care. I just want to keep winning. It just seemed like that was kind of a foundational backbone of the team.
Well, I think you and I think you're a little older than I am, not much, but I guess in that era of growing up, not that it doesn't anymore, but I think we just were taught to win, right? There wasn't notoriety for a jump shot you made in high school. You were not ranked on the internet. Tom Tolbert's the 10th best forward or 5th best in this region of the country. You weren't getting this individual attention, maybe not even in college. And so what we valued was winning, period, right? That's how we got recognized. We won.
Yeah.
And you probably didn't even know stats, right? You probably didn't even know. I don't even know. I guess when I was playing in high school, once in a while they'd throw your box score in the local paper, but
Yeah,
not all.
maybe.
But it'd be like 3 days late. The game was. It was like like that game was 4 days ago and nobody's buried, and then
it's like you're over in Belgium. Like,
yeah,
can we get the news here,
time
please?
zone? So yeah, I to finish the point, societally we do reward individual accomplishments, or at least we're attracted to them, or we highlight them.
Yeah.
And my belief, and I'm curious about yours, is that when winning is very hard in anything, right? You know that it's
Yep.
very hard to win at anything. The second you start compromising what it takes to win, meaning I want to win, but I got to score 20 points, or else I don't really want to win. Because
I
if I
need an
score
X
10,
amount of shots.
yeah, I can't win like that. The second anybody in an organization or on a team starts thinking that way, Tom, how many games of basketball? You played thousands of games of basketball, and you played professional, you played high school, you played college, you played pickup.
Yep.
When one guy on the team has that mindset, it can F up the whole team, period. Yep. To the point where you four that aren't acting that way are looking at each other going, what's wrong with him? Or the guy that when you win is pouting in the locker room. That's contagiously bad, right? And then you got the flip side. You mentioned a Curry, where a guy that could act any way he wanted to act and get away with it. Steph Curry he could be the biggest jerk in the world. He could say to everybody, I'm not getting enough shots. I'm the best shooter in the. He, by the way, never did and never would do that. So when you have people like that in the organization, you say all we care about is winning. Period. Then you give yourself the best shot to win. It doesn't mean you're going to win, but you
Yeah.
give yourself the best shot. Where maybe more so now, you can quote unquote win individually in a team sport because you're making a ton of money, you got a shoe deal, and you're popular in your jersey sale, and maybe in your mind that's winning. And that's what I think is a little bit different. And on those Warrior teams, look no further than Curry, and you know this. I always use the example when the possibility of Kevin Durant came up. In music, that's the equivalent of, Bono hearing that John Lennon wants to join U2. And he's like, yeah, man, that doesn't happen, right? The point
Yeah.
is, like, you don't have a world, everybody has an ego. And for Steph Curry to say, and I can tell you, because I was there when I asked him, do you want Durant on the team? And I did it in person because I think it's a big body language thing.
Yep.
And he said this, Tom, because you're a big EQ guy too. Hey, Steph, how you feel about Durant? This was after we lost in the finals. And if he had done this, yeah, man, I mean, if you think you're the GM, if that's what you want, that's a no, right? That's a no. Or if he goes, I don't know, maybe that's a no. It's a no.
No.
The only yes is this. Yeah, definitely. Can we do that? Should I call him? Yes. Could we meet with him? Maybe. That's the only, yeah. And that's what he said. And so unequivocally but guys don't do that. But that, you know what? And then in the long run, the last point I'll make on Steph is I spoke to a college team a few weeks ago, and a lot of these college kids are making money now, right? So if you or and I were in college together in Arizona, and you're making 400,000, and I'm making 200, but the truth is everybody knows I'm better than you, right? I might have a problem with that, and I might say to a few people, "What's the deal with Tolbert making twice as much as me? I'm starting. He's coming off the bench." I tell that story and I say, that's human nature. When Steph Curry signed his extension for $11 million a year for 4 years, and everybody said that was one of the biggest underpays, I told the team, I said, guess how many times Steph Curry brought up his contract, publicly or privately, in 4 years? To this day, Tom, this is many times. Zero. And I said, and it's not a coincidence the guy has succeeded in his entire life. But it all goes back to those beliefs and that type of integrity and that type of viewing winning and doing all the right things.
I wasn't going to go down this path, but since we're here and it just popped into my head, do you think you guys get Durant if two things don't happen? One, you don't come back from 3-1 to beat Oklahoma City. And two, you guys don't then turn around and lose a 3-1 lead, or any lead for that matter. You don't lose. Like, I've contended that you guys wouldn't have got him if OKC would have beat you, because he would have said, well, why would I go to a team we just beat? And I don't know that he would have wanted to go to a team that just won a championship. He got enough crap anyway for coming. But do you think it would have? Do you think it would have happened if you guys would have either lost them or beat Cleveland?
Yeah, I should ask Kevin that question.
Yeah,
I haven't. No, but you know what? I don't know because I'm not him.
Yeah, of course.
But if your sense, if I'm guessing, those would have been big factors to go the other way. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, right? Because he might have. Because
I'm thinking for you guys, I'm thinking for you too, Bob. It's like, well, do we need KD if we just won another championship?
We always need Durant. You always want Durant.
Well, I know that, but you might not have been in that mindset.
All right, well, sure.
It's I mean, hey, we just won. Look, what we just won. Why
the only way,
if you're winning championship?
Okay, that would have been a decision.
But that's a good answer. You always need Kevin.
Yeah, well, that's my knee-jerk reaction. Come on.
I think that's a pretty solid reaction.
That's probably the right reaction. The only way reaction. The only way that doesn't work is if I went to the team, and by the way, we're doing a lot of hypotheticals here. Yeah, I went to the team and they said no. That's the only way. Because you gotta go to your players and be like, you don't want Durant? Of course. Are you serious? But anyways,
got it. Okay. Let me ask you this is kind of a hypothetical, maybe not. No, it is a hypothetical. But you were there for this hypothetical, so I wanted to ask you. You were there when you drafted Jonathan Kuminga. And that was the whole kind of two timelines thing. which at the time made perfect sense to me. It did.
Yeah.
I didn't know Steph was going to be as good as he was for as long as he was. I didn't know Draymond was going to be as viable as he is for as long as he is. And that you look at like natural evolution or progressions of players, they start going downhill about now. So that made sense to me. They start going down, the young guys pick up the slack and then take the baton and move on. Well, you know, Steph had other thoughts about that, and Draymond had other thoughts about that. And I try to tell people, young guys, rookies on teams that are trying to win championships don't get the runway they get for teams that are winning 25 games. Don't. You can't deal with the mistakes. You can't let them play through it because you're actually trying to win games to help you win a championship. So I guess the question is, if you could have looked into the future and knew that Steph and Draymond were going to be as good as they were for as long as they were going to be, would that have changed just the philosophy of like, hey, let's just get him as much help as we can for as long as we can?
I mean, that's what I mean. There was a contingent of fans and media and maybe people even in the organization that felt like, let's get somebody more ready to play.
Yep.
But when you draft high, I think what I believe, and I think we believe, was it's a chance to take a swing. And get that Tracy McGrady type guy, right? And the Warriors, if you want to go through history, you know, Donald Foyle, the guy, the white guy, what was
Fuller?
Fuller. I mean,
Fuller
these are like Kobe
Yeah.
McGrady drafts. Like these are,
I know.
So those hurt.
They hurt.
As a Warriors fan growing up, and so you have a choice. And I was, as my previous life, I was an agent, and you're kind of like watching these guys that are young and raw, but there's a risk to it, right? So I guess to your point, had we known, would we have done something different on that specific fact? I don't think so. We drafted who we thought was going to be the best player. I mean, that's kind of what we did. We drafted who we thought. Remind me, I have a question to ask you, but that was the thinking behind it. So, yeah, that was the logic.
All right, all right,
is our 30? Since you're like a basketball historian, is our 30 for 30, our last dance, is it going to be any good?
I would think it'd be incredible.
How do you make it good?
Well, you know what? I'll answer the question with kind of a question. Well, not really a question, but it's something I wanted to do when I was still working for the radio station, and I'd still love to do it. I don't know that it's possible to do, but I'd like to find out, like, interview like KD, Steph, yourself,
Steve,
which I'm doing now, Steve. Yeah. I can get that one. I think I can get that one. And just find out how that team came together and how it was built. Because Steph didn't want to work out here, didn't want to come here, didn't want to interview here, and ends up Larry drafts him. It's like, I don't care if you come here or not. I'm gonna draft you. KD comes here after, again, they lose a 3-1 lead, then you guys lose the championship, then he ends up coming here because you have a group of players led by Steph Curry that say, yeah, hell yeah, we don't care who gets the credit. Let's just put together a great team. You were an agent, and then you kind of took a leap, and you came here, and you elevated yourself to the guy running the show. And then Steve was going to go to New York with Phil, and then Steve ends up not going to New York. So all the factors from Clay, who gets drafted here, and then there were discussions about trading him to Minnesota for Kevin Love. Yeah. That didn't happen, so he stays. Draymond falls, you guys get him in this. So to me, the fascinating thing is how one of the best teams, and it is one of the best runs an NBA team in the history of the game has ever had. You guys from 15 to 22. I mean, I always said you guys made the game boring. It just, it's like I knew where you guys were going to end up at the end of the year, Western Conference Finals, and we'll see how it shakes out. But I think it would be fun to see what factors led everyone to be where they were at that time in history. I think that would be pretty fascinating because there's a lot of and there's always this, right, Bob, with every team, but this is a historical team. A left turn here, a right turn there. A lot of this stuff doesn't happen.
I agree. I think that's a compelling, how it all happened, how everybody arrived, is a really fascinating story to tell. And like you said, really on the margin, right? Really on the it's I always look at what we did as a band that had an era, right? So the lead
Yep.
singer happened to hear the guitar guy in his garage as he was doing his paper route, and he said, I'm trying to get in a band. But if he had been riding his bike 10 minutes later, he doesn't hear that guy. And for to do what those teams did, I think all those things had to align, right? They had to
Yep.
coalesce. They had to kind of have that moment in time, good fortune where, like you said, Steve was gone. Steve was in New York. That was done.
Yeah. Yep.
Steve was gone. Steph didn't
I
know.
talked to him.
Yeah, I mean, but
Yeah.
the best parts
Yeah.
of these things are like the best parts of these stories are the truth of the stories. Meaning, Steph publicly stated, "I don't want to play for that team." I was.
Yep.
If any other team had asked me, Tom, like nobody wanted me to be in their front office. I was an agent. I didn't get. If any team would have said, "Hey, come be my assistant GM," I would have gone. Nobody asked. Laker was the only one that asked me. Period. Um, I would have been somewhere else. If anybody because I was ready to not be an agent after doing it for 14 years. Draymond was supposed to be drafted, I believe, 23rd by Atlanta or somebody. They passed on him. We drafted Festus at 30. We risked Draymond being there at 35. Klay
Yep.
Thompson was supposed to go to Sacramento, but they made a trade with Milwaukee, and so he slips one spot, or he would have been gone. Yeah, you beat Oklahoma, you
Yep.
lose to Oklahoma City. Maybe Durant doesn't have, Iguodala. Getting
That's right.
Iguodala
That
was
one.
insane.
Yep.
Like that shouldn't have
Yep.
happened. I mean, so
No.
yeah. I mean, so there's that part of the story which I think is interesting to people, and not fabricated, right? All those things I just said, and
Yep.
they're true. They're true. They're not. We're not making those dramatic, trying to make a story that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And then there's this story. So you have the story of it, how everybody got there, and then you have the story of what happened then, right? And I think that's obviously, how do you tell that in the best way? And
No, I think it's going to be. I mean, I was there for most of it, but I think it's going to be a great story. And I'm glad you brought up Iguodala because I always said there were two things that were super important that people don't talk about enough. Is that not only did you guys trade for Iguodala, and I'd like for you to talk about how tough that was to make that thing work, but he wanted to come here.
I know,
Nobody wanted to come to Golden State at that point. If you
no,
had any status in the NBA, you did this. That Golden State is not this Golden State. People don't go, "Oh, I want to go to Golden State." Now they do. Back then they didn't. But he saw something in that team when you played him in the playoffs. I think it was a year before where he was a part of the Nuggets, and you guys upset the Nuggets, and he wanted to come here. So you made it happen. Talk a little bit about that because I think that's an important part of the historical run you were on. He wasn't the point getter and the stats guy, but he was the guy that kept everything together. He was the organizer. Steve called him the adult in the room. Without him, I firmly believe you don't win those championships. So
agree.
that was important. Talk about how that came together.
Yeah, we were a couple things. We always had a few guys. We wanted a big guard next to Curry, right? And so we wanted a big ball handling passing guard. And we had targeted Livingston. We never thought we could get Iguodala. He would have been like the dream guy. But these kind of big
Yeah.
point forward types, because we thought we were starting to see maybe Steph can play off the ball. Because remember prior to Iguodala, we had Jared Jack. You remember those teams? Jared Jack
Yeah.
was playing one, and we were closing lineups with Jack at one and Steph at two. And so in our mind, I was thinking like, wow, this kind of works, but we need a little bit more size and defense if we can get it. And Iguodala represented all that, but Tom, I didn't think we could get him. So again, another story. We were meeting with Dwight Howard. This was the Dwight Howard free agency.
That's right.
We left that meeting, and Rob Pelinka, who's now the Lakers GM, had said, "Would you guys like to meet with Iguodala?" And I had said, "Well, Rob, I don't see a way where we can get the money together to get Iguodala." I said, "So I don't want to misrepresent. I don't want to waste your time and his time." And he said, "No, come on by." And he wasn't too far. It was all down in LA. And this is where Joe Lacob is so good, and why for me he was such a good partner, because I was more the realist and he was more the optimist, saying like, "Yeah, let's go get Iguodala." And I was like, how are we going to do that? So we go meet with Andre, and we've got this presentation, and in those days it was still in a little, it was like a pamphlet. We didn't have these days. It's all digital and you blast
The
it up on the screen.
pamphlet.
We had a little pamphlet.
It's like a
We had
travel
yeah,
brochure.
you remember these times, these glossy pamphlets? God, people don't even do that anymore, right? And so we handed it to Andre, and it said he was a Swiss Army knife, and every team he was on had a top 5 defense. And Andre kind of grabs the pamphlet and he looks at it and he kind of throws it back on the table. He's like, I don't need all that. He's like, I want to come play for you guys. And I was kind of like, oh wow, then it became very real. Then because half the time when you in these meetings, Tom, you don't know if the players just killing time and using those leverage, or nobody had come to the Warriors at that point. Nobody was coming to the Warriors. No free agents were choosing, and this guy had options. He could go back to Denver. He had Sacramento. He had Dallas. He had a lot of teams. But when he said that, it was almost like I felt a big pressure as far as like, this guy wants to come play for the Warriors. We better figure this out. And he waited on us, and Rob Pelinka as well, who I'd known, worked with him as an agent. Their patience and perseverance got that done, because many times I'm always kind of never wanting to tell somebody something that isn't true. And so I kept saying, guys, you should always keep a fallback, because if I can't get the money, I don't want to leave you hanging. And I kept saying that. And near the end, I started telling Rob and Andre, I don't think this is going to work. I can't find a team, because we had to move Biedrins and Jefferson, okay, to clear up $23 million in room, and maybe one of Brandon Ruck. I think we had to move 3 guys to make the room for Iguodala's, because we were over that. We were over the cap. So nobody would do it. And I remember being up in Tahoe on the phone, talking to Travis Schlenk, my assistant GM, and I said, Travis, what do we? I said, what if we have to give up 2 unprotected first-round picks? And he said, well, then we should. He said, we should do 2. We shouldn't do 3. I said, all right, let's try to find a way to just do 2, and then some second-round picks. And then I had a moment where I was young. I think I was 1 year as GM, maybe. And I told Travis, I said, what if it doesn't work? And he goes, well, we'll just get fired. I said, I don't want to get fired yet. I said, I just started. And it turns out that the last-ditch effort to get that deal done was Kevin O'Connor, who was a great GM up in Utah. I said to Kevin, I said, the last thing we can do is, would you take $3 million? And he goes, and I knew when he said, is that a firm offer? Because we had two unprotected firsts, a couple seconds, and $3 million. And he said, is that a hard offer? And I said, it will be. I called Joe, couldn't get him. I called Kirk. They were in Montana. And I said, Kirk, I need $3 million. And he said, let me ask Joe. And then I said, it's got it quick. I go, soon. So then Kirk, I think, just said, just do it. Just do it. Just give him the $3 million. So I called Kevin and I was like, yes. And then he goes, I think we've got a deal. And that is how Iguodala arrived. And by the way, did change the trajectory of the team.
Yes.
We don't win championships without him. Obviously MVP of the finals in 15.
Yeah.
But that legitimized what you and I knew, and you were a player for the Warriors, was a moment where it made the Warriors relevant in the eyes, I think, of other players. So Andre was huge then, remained huge. It was a huge part of all the success.
It's funny too, because maybe you didn't know about it then, because you'd only had the job for a year. But come to find out, if it comes to winning, Joe's not afraid to pay up. Joe is not afraid to shell out money to win. Like I tell everybody, that's the type of owner you want. That's a fan of the team, that is always going to be thinking ahead. And if you have a chance to win a championship, he's going to spend the money. It's not going to cut the corners. And I mean, as you know better than anybody, like, he's not easy to work for, but a lot of guys aren't. But he wants to win.
As an owner, if you're a fan, you want your owner to spend and you want him to care. Yep. No owner's infallible. No owner's perfect. But what is hard to watch as an owner is one that doesn't spend or doesn't care. That's a hard fan base to be a part of. But Joe is neither, and certainly was rewarded for all that, and did spend and spent a lot to win. And the fans, I think, know that, appreciate that, and it was a huge part of why everything worked the way it did.
Yeah. I got to ask you about one more thing. I wanted to ask you kind of about your trajectory into TV and stuff, but another one we don't talk about enough is Bogut. You guys going out and getting Bogut, because that Bogut, Andre, and Draymond gave you three of the smartest players in the league. And that right there made you the smartest team in the league when those guys were on the court. It gave you toughness, it gave you a defensive mindset, it gave you another guy that could pass. And Steve's offense, to have that kind of passing from a center position is phenomenal. That one I thought, and I don't know if you were I don't know if that was Larry that was
I was an
lead,
assistant
or
GM when we
you
did
were
the Monte. I
assistant.
was assistant,
Can you
with
talk
Larry.
about that one? Because that one, and I don't know if this is fact or not, but it had been reported that you guys offered him either Steph or Monte, and they took Monte because of Steph's ankle problems. I don't know if that's the actual story, but I just thought he was like the perfect guy and especially he was there with Mark Jackson, but when Steve took over, that type of offense was just perfect for this guy because he was a savant when it came to passing. But
Yeah, Bogut.
Steph and Clay get all and Draymond get all the love,
Yeah,
most of it, and even KD when he was there. But Bogut
yeah.
and Andre being there was huge.
Bogut again. I mean, you look at the history of his defense. It's not often can one player make a team a good defense, but Bogut was one of those guys. And
Yep.
another guy I'm going to mention, which a lot of people don't like, but every team he's on at the top 10 is Gobert. I mean, they're very different players, but there's
Yes.
certain very different players, but there's certain players that can make you good defensively almost by themselves. And Bogut, and then his passing, that's where you separate him from a guy like Gobert. Bogut's
Great passer.
passing, um, and his just a brilliant mind, like a point guard type mind for passing. In those days, he didn't have the freedom like a Jokic has, but Jokic is arguably the best passer in the league as a center. I
Yep.
mean, you could argue he
Yep.
might be. If not, he's in the top 5 of passers. And so to have a guy like that to put in Steve's system, and Bogut probably doesn't get the right amount of credit that he should. He was a huge part of turning our teams around. We never had a big, right? You know that. Nelly didn't even want one. But we never really had a
What do you
real.
mean? I was the
I
big.
know, yeah.
I
All right,
was the
sorry.
big.
Yeah, we had
Go
Tolbert,
guard
we had guys like
Ewing.
that.
Go guard
Yeah.
Elijah. We're good. I'm like, do I have any help coming? Please,
No,
fast.
yes,
You better
different
make it
program.
quick.
Yeah. No, but Bogut was, it's so like you started out the conversation. I find these things interesting, or any story like this interesting, because of all the people that made it work, and all the people that had a role in making it what it was, and different roles. And Steph deserves to be the headliner. He certainly
Yeah.
does. And everybody you talk to would admit that or agree with that. And what a headliner, as far as somebody that was a team guy or is a team guy. Um, but again, looking back on those teams in those days, that's just a hard thing to replicate. It just is a very hard thing because of all the things, like you said, that had all the people that had to line up and come together. And but you know what, the Bay Area, I think, deserved that. The fans of the Warriors, it couldn't happen to a better fan base because of the passion and the care factor, how much they care about that. The Warriors, I know the Niners are huge, but it's still like a basketball town in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
It feels like it. It felt, that would be my take on it. So
No, we
it's
have
great.
great
Yeah,
basketball fans. So I gotta because I want to make sure I get this straight. Was it always Monte for Bogut, or was it either
they
Steph
didn't want it
or
was.
Bogut?
We made a decision internally that we said we wanted to construct a deal. When we called Milwaukee, we said it's going to have to be around Monte, and we're
Got
going
it.
to have to figure that out. And
Okay.
that took a while because the initial reaction was no, that's not going to work on their side.
Yeah.
But then it became like it has to be that, and
Yep.
then Epe Udo. I'm trying to think who else was in the deal.
Epe Udo.
Yeah, remember? But
I
remember,
remember.
people
I
forget,
remember
like
Epe.
Bogut was hurt too. Bogut was hurt coming
He
back.
was hurt. Yep.
So he
No,
didn't play. He
absolutely.
didn't play that
And
whole year.
people loved Monte.
Yeah, they did.
People
Well,
loved
he was great for
Monte.
that. I mean, he was the fans, he did a great while he was with the Warriors. He was great. I mean, he probably
He
should have
was
been an
he was
all-star,
he was
at some
fantastic.
point.
Remember
Yeah.
that trade got Joe Lacob booed during
I
Chris
know, man.
Mullin's jersey
That was
retirement.
that
And I knew
was
that was the night I knew Joe was going to be okay because he got booed and it was loud. And the only other thing I remember about that night was Rick Barry grabbing the mic, and I go, "Oh shit, this is gonna be good." Rick Barry, I go,
Here we
Rick's
go.
grabbing the mic.
Crack open
Look
a
out!
beer.
But
Get a
I
six pack.
knew Joe was gonna be fine when they let him have it, and then
Yeah.
third quarter starts, he walked right back out to his seats
Yeah.
and sat down. There's a lot of
No.
owners
Not
that would
only
have said,
that.
"I don't want to go
No.
back out there for that."
Yeah. Two things. I loved what Rick Barry. That was awesome.
Come
What he
on,
did was
people!
come on, people. And he was, by the way,
You're crazy.
yeah, by the way, great. I mean, Rick, I love that Rick did that. Somebody needed to do it, and Rick did it, and Rick was right. And not only that, the other part that was great was that the next day, Joe went on every show that asked him to do media.
Yep.
He might have come on your show.
Might have.
He said, "I understand, and I've got to do what I think is right," and that was commendable because he didn't run for cover. And no, look, like I said, he stood and faced the music.
He did. Let's
So,
be honest.
yeah,
Cohan would have moved to Alaska after that.
a lot of owners, a lot of guys would have been like,
Not that you saw him anyway.
I can sit here, we can laugh about it, but I haven't been booed by 20,000 people personally.
Neither
just
have
me. I mean, that was just directed at him, and it was
well,
like,
that's why I'm laughing about it, because it wasn't
I
him.
know, man. Well,
it's funny when stuff happens to other people.
It's worked out for Joe. It's worked out fine.
It's worked out. It's worked out okay.
There you go, man.
Okay, before we let you go, and I didn't want this. I wasn't.
No, what do you got?
On it turning into.
I don't care. What cares?
A walk down memory lane, but I'm glad
whatever you want it to be. Yeah.
No, it's fun to talk to you about these things. I was there for these things, and it was fun watching it, and it was even more fun for me because, Steve's one of my best friends. I got to know you really well. I got to know Travis really well. So it's you feel kind of part of it. Even though I say to this day, I mean, I got 2 championship rings for being a broadcaster. I'm like, I didn't do shit. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm up in the box somewhere. And people that sell tickets do more than I do. I was just talking and give me a ring. But in fact, somebody asked me where the rings were, and I go, "That's a great question. I don't know."
Yeah.
I think I know where they are.
Yeah,
all right, let me ask you about because what you did, that's stressful. That is a stressful job, having to do that. I mean, it's not even like an 8-hour job. It's probably like a 16, 20-hour job. Is that ultimately kind of what led you into the next phase? Let me just get out and take a breath. Just kind of take a breath and detox a little bit.
Yeah. I was thinking this morning, all these people, I don't know if you do this, but a lot of people play fantasy football, right?
I do.
It's a huge thing, right? Okay, which is fine. I think they play fantasy football because it's fun to build a team, right? And do well, right? You think more than your buddies. And you build a team, and then you compete and you watch. And I was thinking to myself, everybody loves fantasy football, but being a GM was not like that. And then I started thinking, well, let's say I was the owner of your team, Tom, and you had a tough week. I go, "Hey, Tom, what the hell happened?" And you go, "Well, I didn't play the right guy. But why'd you have him on your bench?" And you go, and then you go to the coffee shop. "Hey, Tolbert, what the hell happened?" And you go, I drafted so-and-so in the first round. I had no idea he was going to get hurt in the first week. And so I started thinking to myself, like, the basic part of the job is really fun because it's the highest level of fantasy sports, right? You're doing it for a job. But for my personality, Tom, maybe not yours. I felt the pressure and responsibility of the community to a degree where the joy of winning was not nearly as much as the difficulty of losing. And we didn't lose a lot.
Yeah.
And so I was even talking to Nick Uren the other day. He's obviously in the finals for the Mercury at WNBA.
Yep.
And I said, "Nick," because they're down, and he's like, he said something, and I said, "Nick, the hardest thing is that you have to find ways to enjoy. You're in the finals." And he was appreciative of it all. And I said, "If I were to ever do something like that again, you have to find ways to enjoy it, right? You have to find ways to do it." And so that's where it's a challenge, and it's personal. But for me, I can't. I love that I did it. I love it. But
Yeah.
it does. There's a cost to it, right? There's just a cost to it.
Yeah.
So
Well, I don't
yeah,
think you're alone in that. I think so many people that I talk to that have played professional sports or been GMs or been coaches, it gets to a point where you ask them their greatest wins, and it takes a minute for them to like kind of sort through the memories. You ask them about their most
yeah,
devastating losses, it's almost instantaneous. Like
I know.
I can
Yeah,
in my mind, I picture that Oklahoma game in the Final Four.
yeah,
And we had a lot of great wins at Arizona and a lot of fun wins when I was playing. Not
yeah.
huge wins, but playoff wins when I was with the Warriors. But the losses just kill you. And I
I know,
always
man.
ask coaches, do you have time enough to stop and smell the roses? Like really
Yeah.
enjoy what you're doing. And almost to a man, they say, not enough.
No,
It's
not
almost like
enough.
it's
Not
almost a
enough.
relief. Like you
I know.
win, it's a relief. It's not joy. Like
No,
losing's
I know.
devastation.
I
So
know.
winning should be joy to balance it out. But it's like
It
winning's
doesn't, man.
relief and
Yeah,
losing's devastation. And that's a rough way. I mean,
it's a
that's
tough one,
so
man.
rough.
It's tough. Tough. I know it's hard. I let's finish the conversation over a beer one day because I gotta hit it. I gotta go run and pick up
Okay.
my 15-year-old. But
Oh, playing
yeah,
sports?
yeah. No, she's just in school and I gotta grab her right
Nice.
now. But
Okay, yeah,
I
well,
love
go
hanging
ahead.
with
Yeah,
you, man.
I
Yeah,
kept you too
yeah.
long anyway,
No, you
but
didn't. No, you didn't. I love talking to you. It's great. I do. This
okay.
is cool. I'll come back
Well, let's
on if you want. Yeah, we
well
could
let's
do it
do it again.
again.
You
Yeah,
know
let's
what?
do
When
it.
you're the Bay Area, I'll just grab you. You come over in the backyard and have a beer
Yeah,
with me.
man. Who's the young lady or young man in your lap here? What is this?
That
This
is Lulu.
Lulu.
Oh,
If
it's
nobody's
everybody.
watching this,
Oh, we got a zoo
yeah,
around here, Bob.
yeah,
You know what? You
yeah,
didn't get a chance to see it. We got a
yeah.
bunny popping around here.
Oh my
A
God, look at you,
rabbit that
man.
just
I
pops
love it.
around the backyard. We got two
I
cats.
mean, this is
It's a
great.
zoo.
This is
It's an
good. I love
absolute
it. I'm
zoo.
jealous. I'm
Hey, I'm
jealous. Yeah,
so
I'm jealous.
happy I got a
I
chance to
love
catch
it.
up with you. I mean,
Love it, man.
I love
Stay
the
in
fact
touch,
that
dude.
I got a chance to know you with the Warriors, and I'm
Likewise.
glad that we get a chance to talk every once in a while. So,
Awesome,
best of
dude.
luck with
All right, man.
everything, and let's do it
Thanks,
again soon,
Tommy.
Bob.
Okay, brother.
All right,
I'll talk
man.
to you, man.
Take it easy,
Thank you,
Bob.
dude. See
Appreciate
you,
it,
man.
man.